Alright, what's up, Algebra 1? Welcome to our first video lesson of the semester. So our first lesson is over solving two-step equations. Okay, you can ignore this LG1 at the top. That is from Mr. Maroney's class. Alright. Okay, so our objective today is to solve two-step equations with one variable. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and look at this essential understanding right here first. Alright, so it says to solve two-step equations, you can use the properties of equality and inverse operations to form a series of simpler equivalent equations. You can use the properties of equality repeatedly to isolate the variable. Okay, that's pretty wordy. Really, all it means, if you look at the part where it says the properties of equality and inverse operations, so the property of equality, really all that's saying is whatever's on the left side of the equal sign is the same as what's on the right side of the equal sign. So just a really simple example of that, 2 plus 4 equals 6. All that property of equality is saying that 2 plus 4 is the same as 6, okay? Because it's on the left side and the right side of the equal sign. All right, so that's that property, really simple. The inverse operations, just in case you don't remember, is going to be, say we've got 2x equals, we'll go with 4. The inverse operations just says to undo this multiplication of 2 times x, you would divide. Okay, so you would divide by 2, and then obviously you have to divide both sides by 2 to keep everything equal. Okay, so then you're left with x equals 2. So again, just as a reminder, the inverse operation of addition would be subtraction. The inverse operation of multiplication would be division. All right. Exponents. So the inverse of an exponent would be the root. So for if you have like x squared, the inverse is going to be the square root, okay? Because the square root is the same as having a 2 here, okay? So it undoes that 2. If it was to the third, pretty much the same thing. Now you're getting the cubed root, which is that symbol. And we'll talk about that more in the future. You won't really need that for now, most likely. All right. So let's go ahead and do this example that they've got here for us. We can scroll down here actually, and they do it for us. So we have 2x plus 3 equals 15. So I'll go ahead and work it out here as well. But if you want to look at this example, that's totally fine with me. I'm just going to be working it out right here in a way that I think is easier. But if you prefer the way they do it, that's totally fine. Really, the steps are going to be the same. It's just how they're going to write things out. So the first thing that you're going to want to do here is you're going to want to get 3 to the other side. Okay, so you want to do the inverse operation, which is going to be subtraction. So you'll subtract 3 from both sides. You'll be left with 2x equals 12. All right, and then the next step, you have 2 times x here, okay? The inverse of multiplication is division, so you're going to divide both sides by 2, since your 2 is right here. That's going to leave you with x, because 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 1 times x is x, and then 12 divided by 2 is 6, okay? So x equals 6 is your solution. The next step, which I want you to go ahead and do, is I want you to check, and that's what they've got right here. Okay, so I want you to go ahead and check your solution. The very easy way to do this is to plug in that 6 for x at your original equation. Okay, so you had 2x plus 3 equals 15. So now you're going to have 6 plus 3 equals 15. Okay, 2 times 6 is 12. And then 12 plus 3 equals 15. This is a true statement, so you know that 6 was correct and you got that one right. All right, on your own, I want you to go ahead and take a second and pause the video. Just go ahead and solve this equation here, 5 equals t over 2 minus 3. All right, I want you to try that one out. So go ahead and pause the video and do that. We'll work through that together as a class. Okay, so moving on, we have a word problem here. It's the same thing, just with a word problem. So it's this community service. You are making a bulletin board to advertise community service opportunities in your town. You plan to use half a sheet of construction paper for each ad. You need 5 sheets of construction paper for a title banner. You have 18 sheets of construction paper. How many ads can you make? Okay, so we've got a lot of information here, right? The first thing, just reading through this the first time, is I noticed it was going to be easiest if we just kind of work through it backwards. Okay, so the first thing I'm seeing is it says right here, how many ads can you make? Whenever you see how many of something in a word problem, you know that that's going to be your variable. Okay, so how many of what? Ads. Okay, so they use down here, they use A for ads. I personally prefer to use X just because that's pretty standard. To see, you're going to see X for variables all the time. So personally, I use X. If you want to use A, it doesn't matter to me. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and write that X in, and I'm just going to remember that's for ads. Okay, then working backwards, you have 18 sheets of construction paper. Okay, that is our total amount of paper that we have. Okay, so that's going to be on the other side of the equal sign, that we have 18 sheets to use total. Okay. Next, you see you need 5 sheets of construction paper for a title banner. All right. So that tells you that along with your variable, which is going to be here, you have a plus 5. Okay. Next, you plan to use half a sheet of construction paper for each ad. So each ad is going to take 1/2 a sheet of construction paper. Okay, you'll notice here you have the form y equals mx plus b. Okay, so we have mx plus b equals y. Okay, so this y equals mx plus b, right? That's the same thing as mx plus b equals y. They're the same thing. We will work with that later on, and so you'll see it more and more. So if you don't remember it or write it down right now, it's not a big deal. Just know you're going to see that a lot in the future. Okay, so we have our equation here, 1/2 x plus 5 equals 18. All right, again, now we're just solving. Okay, so you're going to do the inverse of addition to get rid of that 5. You're going to be left with 1/2 x equals 13. All right. Next, you have a fraction, and a fraction is the same as division. Okay, so you have to remember a fraction is the same as division. All right, so the inverse operation of division is going to be multiplication. So you're going to want to multiply by 2 on both sides. And this is going to give you 2 times 1/2. Those will cancel, so you'll be left with x equals 13 times 2, which is 26. So 26 is the number of ads you can make. Okay. So when you write this, right, x equals 26, I want you to go ahead and put in on a word problem that is 26 ads. Okay. This shows that you understand why you did the math problem. All right, so that's sort of a real world application. So imagine your boss, if you really were working for an advertising company, imagine that your boss comes in and he tells you, hey, I want you to figure out how many ads we can make with this much paper, right? So then if you come to him and you say, hey boss, x equals 26, he's gonna look at you, he's gonna be like, what the heck are you talking about, right? So you want to give that as the answer right here, 26 ads. Okay. All right, hold on guys. If this is still recording, I can't tell because my timer just went away. So bear with me for just a second. I'm trying to pull it up. It's not working. It's really frustrating. Ah. I really hope this isn't recording. Oh, it is. Cool. All right, guys. Sorry about that little hiccup. This is a new thing for all of us, and a new thing for me to record lessons. So, you'll have to bear with me a little bit on stuff like that. So anyway, we got this one done. That example. I want you to go ahead and do. You're using problem 2, but I want you to do number 2. This got it right here. Do that on your own. Okay. All right, so once you've paused the video and you've tried that one out, we're going to go ahead and do problem 3 here together as well, just so you can see this one. So you have x minus 7 over 3 equals negative 12. All right, so the point of this one is just to show that with the denominator, you can go ahead and multiply the whole numerator and denominator like that, even though you have two things up top, so that x and that negative 7 up top. Okay, so your first step is just really simple. Multiply both sides by 3. Okay, so if you multiply this by 3, these two 3's are going to cancel. You're going to be left with x minus 7 on this side, and then the other side, negative 12 times 3 is going to be negative 36. Then you add your 7 for your inverse operation. X equals negative 36 plus 7 is negative 29. I had to think about that one for a second, but that's what it's going to be. Okay. So as we dive further into lessons, and I think this comes up tomorrow if I remember right, you're going to notice with a problem like this where we have x minus 7 over 3, it's going to be way easier if you do if you multiply that whole thing out by itself than if you tried to break it up into x over 3 minus 7 over 3, right? Because these two are the same thing, right? So this is the same thing as this, all right? But it's going to be way easier to just solve it in the way that they have it written there, okay? And that'll come up when we get into simplifying fractions and multi-step equations and stuff like that. All right, for this final problem that they give us, we're not going to go ahead and we're not going to do it the way that they do it, right? They have all these steps that are important to know, but we're not going to worry about it right now. We'll get there in the future, okay? So don't worry about all that. Really what they're telling you is they have like negative x equals negative 5, okay? Just make sure when you solve that you know that that this right here does not mean that x equals negative 5, right? It means negative x equals negative 5. So to solve this, you divide by negative 1 on both sides. You'd have x equals 5, okay? When you see, and I'll go ahead and just erase this. When you see negative x equals negative 5 right there, you know you can just flip the signs on everything on both sides. Okay, so, but that also means if you have negative x equals, let's say we're working with two variables. So let's say we've got negative y minus 5. Okay, when you do this, this is the same as dividing everything on both sides by negative 1. Okay, so you have to make sure everything's sign is flipped. So here you would do this, you'd have x equals y plus 5, not negative y plus 5, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. That is it for this video lesson. I will see you guys back in the Zoom meeting.